What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How are you guys doing tonight? This is Season 3 of Cinetober. I have a guest with me here. No, it's not Russell. He's dealing with his own personal hell, you know, because Silent Hill's been following me. Yes, this is my good friend Cody, who somehow is involved with Silent Hill. I have no idea. I don't even want to know what his personal hell is, but we just went through we just went through a horror, and there's been many sequels, many bad ones, even a remake, which I actually thought was pretty good. There's a scary book, and
bad sequels.
Yeah, bad sequels. And that is the Amityville Horror, the original. Now, I love this movie. I really do. But one thing that's for sure is I'm going to be going into spoilers about this movie. We're going to be talking about our thoughts about what we thought of this movie and everything. So if you don't want to know what happens in this movie or in the book, because I'm going to talk a little bit in the book, and I will put my link to the book in the description box below for you guys to check that out. But yeah, I hope you guys are wanting to stay and watch this video, and if not, well, then you need to stop right about here.
Exactly.
Because we're going to talk about the Amityville Horror. So, a little bit of background with me is I actually think that this really happened. It's weird with me, but I truly believe that this happened, and I know there's like a lot of spectacles going like, oh, but it didn't happen, it was fake, such and such. I proved that that it didn't happen. I personally believe that it did happen. That's actually in my my review for the remake. I'll put that in there too. But Cody, what do you think of the Amityville Horror?
Well, you know, I remember when I saw The Conjuring, when it came out a few years ago, and you know, with the Warrens, they're not in, you don't see them in the movie, but they're said to be involved with the case, and, you know, people talk about whether this is real or not, you know, being that we're in the 21st century, people are like, well, that stuff just doesn't happen, or we're too rational for it, but not everything in the world's so easily explained.
That's true.
I love how in this movie, you see them coming to grips with the fact that they don't know the exact answer to it, or and at first they're in denial, you know, like any other person. We're like, well, maybe it'll get better over time.
Yeah.
They try to stay in the house, they try to redeem what they've purchased, but it just doesn't work for them. And in the end, they leave everything behind because of what happened. You know, I've seen this movie several times, and one thing I wish it covered more of was maybe if the Warrens were involved at this time, where were they, or talk about their story. But what I do like about it is you have several different characters, you know, the main characters, you have the minister who sees what's going on, he tries to speak up, you know, that one person who's warning you, but no one wants to listen. That's how it usually goes.
Like, no one wants to listen. Or one thing that I did like, and in the book, they talk like how, like, when the minister first goes there, and like the whole thing with the flies, and he gets sick and he says get out, that happened in the book. And one thing that they do kind of go into depth with is whenever the minister, I wish they had done a little bit more with this, is like when the minister starts getting a little bit better, like he goes to like different sicknesses, like they said, oh, he's got a real bad case of flu, he's got like, he kept getting sick, but like the more he stayed away from the house and even like avoided talking to the Lutzes, he got better. But whenever he started diving into it again, he got sick, he got horrible every single time. No matter what he did to help them, he always got worse. And they had the characters who were like, they had, I think it was Kathy's aunt who was the nun. As soon as she showed up to the house, she was like, no, I don't freaking like this. I can't stay here. I don't feel well. She threw up. Or they have the minister trying to go back to the house and basically like try to get them out of there, but the demon, like whatever it is in the house, stops them from going, like makes the break free, messes with the car and almost kills them. Or when the minister finally like starts like praying to God in the church, and that was one thing I really liked too, because like the minister's like finally, all right, I've had enough, I'm gonna go pray, and I'm gonna just like try to cast this thing out from here.
It was pretty intense.
It was like the whole entire church is shaken, and I didn't know, like with the whole entire there's a thing of like, was it Jesus or an angel? I know they had like statues of Jesus. Like there was one statue like was cracking.
It was an angel.
It was an
angel
from
the looks of it.
Yeah, and like the eyes fell off, and like the minister's like, I can't see. And I was like, they build up the tension with this house, and like they build up of how like what day 2 George started going crazy. Like day 2, at least like with. They did this slowly, so like, and like there was one thing that me and Cody noticed was whenever he starts going crazy, he snaps out of it for like a couple seconds.
It's like he phases in and out of it.
Yeah, but then like when he gets more and more into it, it gets worse over time. And the thing is with this, one thing I did like about this is, and it was dumb what they did in the remake, because at least the actor who played George Lutz actually looked like Ronnie DeFeo, or at least the actor Oh, wait, no, wait, what am I talking about? No, they actually used the same actor who played George Lutz to put his face in the paper so he would look identical, whereas in the remake with Ryan Reynolds, it just looked off. Now,
Right.
I did like what they did with the mother, how, like, the mother automatically fell in love with the house. The mother like, for some reason, like, the mother always falls in love with the house.
Well, I wonder how real that was. Like, I know with the story, they probably tweaked it, of course, for an audience.
They might have, but, like, I'll have to go back and watch my Amityville Horror, but, like, at least in the book, and at least in this movie, in the book, it was more, the mother fell more in love with the house, and she started going in denial. But the more stuff happened, the more she was like, oh crap, there is something wrong with this house. And George would be like, no, there's nothing wrong. I've got to take care of the wood. I've got to get us more wood. We're freezing. And, like, they did talk about that in my Amityville Horror and in the book of, like, how the house would get cold spots or the toilets would have black ooze coming out of it, which was creepy. The walls bled. There was a red room, which I think they've confirmed that wasn't actually a thing. That was just added for the movie. But they did say something like how the house was buried on, like, uncursed ground.
Yeah, because she had the first lady they had come in, she was like, there's bodies buried
like, there's
here.
bodies buried here. It's kind of like, have you ever seen The Haunting in Connecticut?
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. Apparently the Warrens were involved with that too.
Well, they've been involved with a lot of it, apparently.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what the controversy is, because them two, they call themselves demonologists. Some people were like, yes, what happened was true. Others are like, no, that's superstition or it's spiritism. But with them, they took the cases pretty seriously, and a lot of us, whether we have a genuine interest or we just like a thrill and a heavy heartbeat, just get that thrill of, oh, something's gonna happen. Is the kid gonna die? Who's gonna get killed? Is the father gonna turn? And, in the end, we see him be able to snap out of it enough to get out, to even get the dog out, and just seeing that. But if you watch some of those other movies related with the Warrens, it's like they pretty much have to hold the mother down in The Conjuring.
Just to keep her from, like, killing the family. But, like, they do some really... The music is creepy. Like, the beginning music of this film is just terrifying. There's been a time when I watched this movie and I had chills after finishing it, because it messes with
Well,
you.
the way they just play that music, it sets the tone for the movie. It sets that as something that you want to explore. You're just looking at this and you're hearing that because they have, like, sounds like what kids in there singing.
Yeah, and it's just...
Yeah, and it's soft, but it's eerie.
It is.
It just gets to you. It gets to those fibers in you, and it's just...
Yeah. Now, one thing that they don't show in the movie, and I don't remember if they talked about it in the book or not, but from watching my Amityville Horror, the Daniel Lutz, the older kid, he talked about, like, how George egged it on, and I can't remember if he challenged it in the remake, but in the original, he kind of challenged it a little bit, because, like, when he's finally going crazy and he's finally snapping, he's like, this is my freaking house. This is my house.
They show signs, but it was never, like
what they probably...
out there.
Yeah, because, like, I mean... with, like, my Amityville Horror, the guy was like, oh, there was one day I came home and, like, George was, like, able to, like, levitate a freaking wrench or something, and they were talking about, like, how there was just, like, multiple things that caused this house to be what it is. But going back to the movie is dreary. The movie has good suspense. The movie gives you that feeling like something is wrong. They need to get out, but, like, they won't get out because whenever someone tries to call them and say, hey, you gotta get out, phone messes up. There's the thing with the flies, which actually that was creepy, because, like, the ministers come to bless the house, and he starts, like, coughing, and they're, like, all of a sudden, they do, like, a focus on the flies.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was good.
And with the flies, I like how it's kind of like it directly gets to the fact that there's a problem. It wasn't like he looks over at a table and there's a spoon and it just barely moves. Instead, he gets sick real quick. The nun gets sick, but the movie sets a pace to where it pretty much goes ahead and shows you what's going on.
Right.
But it paces it. It does build up, and that's what I like about it. I mean, being made in the 70s, there was only so much they could do with all of that, but they really did good of going ahead and laying out what would likely happen. But at the same time, it built up, and while it had, it was longer, you wanted to know what happened.
Yeah.
You sat there like, okay, what's going to happen next? And it keeps you engaged. There's some movies you watch them and you're like, why am I watching this? But this version, it really does a good job. And for being in the 70s, I think it was well done. And I think it's even better than some of the movies you see nowadays.
Yeah, like with all we're getting,
some of
like,
those remakes.
Yeah. The remake isn't bad. I've got my review on that. But overall, I would give this movie, I don't know, I wouldn't give it an A, because, I don't know, maybe I'd give it like a B to a B+.
Yeah.
It's certainly a good Halloween movie, but if you're interested in stuff like that, it's something, it it gives you questions, which there's nothing wrong with having questions. There's nothing wrong, but like as long as like you don't dive too deep into it. But like I do agree with you on one thing is I wish that they had done a little bit more, but that happened afterwards. So I don't know, like maybe if they had made a movie where like where they had all the people come into the house and stuff like that, and they did their investigations and stuff like that. I feel like that would have been.
Yeah, I could give it happened after they couldn't put it in this one.
Yeah, because that would have made it a little bit longer. Because like this movie's it's an hour and 59 minutes, so that ain't too bad. But like, if they had added that in, they would have. It wouldn't have added to it. But like if you were wanting to like chronologically faithful to what happened, they would have had to wait until a sequel, not a dumb one, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wish there the sequel
where afterwards what happened, Lorraine and Ed came in and did what they did. I feel like this movie is more of like a psychological thriller than anything. But one thing that you're always worried about is like when George has an axe. And he's just like chopping wood away. And his wife like sneaks up to him and is like, don't sneak up behind me like that when I've got an axe in my freaking hand. And I'm like, dude, okay, we get it. But like, the one thing like that you are always wondering is like, is he gonna snap and kill his family? Is he gonna kill these kids?
Yeah, and it's just with that imagery of the axe, that was a symbol of focus, and just the fact of how he was acting. It was really neat to see how that developed, and how he even at the end he snapped out of it. He's like, "We got to get out of here."
Yeah, and they finally got out.
And I would probably say with me, I'd probably give it a B. It's one of those where can't say it's my favorite, but it's really good to watch. I really enjoy it. It's something that you can enjoy, but at the same time, if you're not into horror movies, this is probably not your cup of tea.
Probably not. No, this is like with me. A psychological thing.
Yeah, I agree with the psychological.
I love psychological.
It does play with your head.
It does. Like Silent Hill, which I don't understand why it's coming after me, but whatever. But yeah, guys, put in the comments below, what did you think of the original Amityville Horror? Personally, I love it. He likes it. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying Halloween. And now, if you'll excuse me, we've got to figure out why there's fog out in the hallways. Have a good day, guys.